Afternoon, everyone. An investigation is underway for an attempted murder in Grand Forks. Police say just after 3 yesterday afternoon, officers responded to the 100 block of Conklin Avenue for a report of a man who had been stabbed in the shoulder. When they got to the scene, police say 56-year-old Cian Reese of Grand Forks had stabbed her 82-year-old father, Hugh Reese, over an argument about a phone. Police say she then turned the knife and cut herself. Both the suspect and victim were treated at the hospital. Reese is now in the Grand Forks County Jail on charges of attempted murder. Police say Hugh is in stable condition. Anyone with more information is encouraged to contact Grand Forks Police. Millions across the South are dealing with another wave of severe weather. A huge storm system has brought high winds, hail, and more tornadoes to some of the same area that was threatened last week. In Mississippi, mobile homes were flipped, sending some to the hospital. And in Texas, a confirmed EF1 tornado touched down near Dallas, ripping the roofs off of homes. In Arkansas, at least 7 people were hurt too critically by an EF2 tornado and 115-mile-per-hour winds. In Louisiana, a tree fell into a house just inches from the bed where a toddler was sleeping. Her family says it's a miracle she survived. The storm system now continues to move east, bringing the risk of more high winds and tornadoes. Well, here in our neck of the woods, most of us are hoping for a warm up, and Hutch says it's on the way. He joins us with a first look. Hutch?
Thanks so much. Yes, as you saw there at our Dakota Magic Casino camera, the winds are blowing a little bit. We still have some snow to melt out there. And we spent much of the day under cloud cover, keeping our temperatures at bay here in the Fargo area. But out to the west, things are warming up a little bit more. In Fargo tonight, we'll have temperatures that'll be in the mid, maybe briefly upper 30s, then sneaking down into the 20s. Notice we'll have some clear skies. And in Grand Forks, as we take a look at your planning forecast, expect 20s as well. Overnight, we do have a chance of some passing clouds. Those clouds important in our forecast as we take a look here at our region. Number one, not many clouds out in our western counties. That's where temperatures warmed up. But notice the clearing trend across Minnesota. If you joined us last night, those temperatures now are generally in those 30s. Look at 40s in Jamestown, though, where the sun has been doing its job for the last couple of hours, and 50s out in the western Dakotas. Clear sky is important because there's a chance of some northern lights tonight. Stacy, if you have photos, you could send some in, and I understand you have details about a little bit more on that.
Well, we have some to show you. Take a look at these photos that VNL viewers submitted from the Northern Valley, Langdon, Thompson, Amaretto, and Devil's Lake. And Hutch, we might see more tonight, you said?
Yeah, you know, the forecast for another strong aurora event is possible tonight, and I was showing you the cloud cover expected to clear. Early overnight will be the best viewing. We're going to see an increase in some clouds as we go through the overnight in your hour-by-hour forecast. But a strong display last night, and thanks to all of you sharing those awesome photos. Glad you had a chance to get out and see them. Now maybe our Minnesota viewers will have a chance tonight at seeing them. Ooh, look at those colors.
Just beautiful. Thanks, Hutch.
You bet.
Well, nationwide, Americans are paying an average of $4.22 for a gallon of gas. That's according to AAA. Today, President Biden has ordered the release of 1 million barrels of oil per day from the nation's petroleum reserve. It's the largest release of oil reserves in history, and the president says it could bring down the price of gas per gallon 10 to 35 cents. Naomi Ruckham reports.
President Biden says he will put 1 million additional barrels of oil on the market every day for the next 6 months, all of it coming from the nation's strategic petroleum reserve.
This is a wartime bridge to increase oil supply until production ramps up later this year.
The president wants to get U.S. oil and gas companies producing more. And to turn up the pressure, he's also calling on Congress to impose fees on those companies for wells on public lands that aren't getting used.
No American company should take advantage of a pandemic or Vladimir Putin's actions to enrich themselves at the expense of American families.
Drivers have also been paying more for gas, with global supply impacted by steep sanctions on Russia for its war in Ukraine. The pandemic and efforts to move toward greener energy have meant less oil on the market. Kyle Bowles owns an ice cream truck business in Richmond, Virginia, and his trucks run off both unleaded and diesel gas.
In a word, it's brutal, truthfully. You know, a year ago, the prices were $2 less on each one.
This new oil reserve release will begin in May, increasing domestic supply. But experts say it will also bring oil reserve levels to lows not seen in decades. Patrick DeHaan is the chief petroleum analyst for GasBuddy, the app that helps drivers find the cheapest gas.
Are we going to put ourselves more at risk? This could push up prices long term because the nation has no relief valve for if there are future problems.
The Biden administration says it will replenish the Strategic Petroleum Reserve when prices come down, but other recent releases haven't done much to move the needle on prices. Naomi Ruckham, CBS News, New York.
President Biden also ordered the Department of Defense to secure American production of minerals and materials used for large capacity batteries. It's part of the effort to reduce reliance on China for those materials that can help the country move toward greener energy. A new study found the number of illicit pills containing fentanyl seized by U.S. law enforcement jumped almost 5,000% between 2018 and 2021. According to DEA, more than 42,000 fentanyl-laced pills were seized in 2018. The number was nearly 2.1 million in 2021. Fentanyl can be found in counterfeit versions of drugs like oxycodone and hydrocodone. The rise in fentanyl seizures goes along with the rise in fatal overdoses. Experts warn the pills can be contaminated with fentanyl and poisoning. Even death can happen easily. They say pills from a pharmacy are safe, while illegally purchased pills may not be. The Federal Election Commission has fined Hillary Clinton's 2016 presidential campaign and the Democratic National Committee $113,000, saying they violated campaign finance law. The settlement relates to the famous Steele dossier, which was a report compiled by former British spy Christopher Steele and financed by Democrats, which alleged the campaign of former President Trump has ties to Russia. The documents have not yet been made public, but they'll likely be released within the next 30 days. New information is being reviewed in an ongoing investigation of President Biden's son, Hunter. Federal officials are looking at his foreign business dealings, including his ties to a Chinese energy company, and whether the younger Biden and his associates violated tax, money laundering, and foreign lobbying laws. Records reviewed by CBS News indicate multiple financial transactions involving an energy company called CEFC. This week on the Senate floor, Republican Chuck Grassley presented financial records that he said showed six-figure payments from the Chinese energy company to Hunter Biden's firm.
What is effectively an arm of the Communist Chinese government direct to Hunter Biden.
The White House declined to comment and referred reporters to an earlier statement that President Biden has never considered being in business with his family or any business overseas. Jared Kushner, a senior advisor to his father-in-law, former President Donald Trump, became the highest-ranking member of the administration and first member of the Trump family to testify before the House committee investigating the January 6th assault on the U.S. Capitol. Kushner was returning from an overseas trip at the time of the attack, but committee members believe he may still have relevant testimony. Meanwhile, the January 6th committee is also looking to bring in Ginny Thomas, the wife of Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas, following revelations she worked with the Trump White House to overturn the election.
If your wife is an admitted and proud contributor to a coup of our country, maybe you should weigh that in your ethical standards.
Now, Thomas was the sole justice to rule against the National Archives releasing Trump White House documents to the January 6th committee. Ukraine's state power company says Russian troops are leaving the escalation talks as a cover to regroup and resupply their forces ahead of a stepped-up offensive in eastern Ukraine. In Mariupol, buses are being sent to evacuate Ukrainians under a limited ceasefire. A new round of talks aimed at stopping the fighting is scheduled for tomorrow. The Red Cross is sending teams with medical supplies and other relief for civilians who have nearly run out of food and water. As Western officials search for clues about what Russia's next move might be, a top British intelligence official said demoralized Russian soldiers in Ukraine are refusing to carry out orders and sabotaging their equipment and had accidentally shot down their own aircraft. Americans who don't identify as male or female will soon have a new option on their passports. Starting next month, people can use X as a gender marker. The official designation of the X marker is unspecified or another gender identity. This is the first time a federal agency has offered this sort of marker on an identity document. The X is expected to be available on other forms next year. A group of trade associations that represent businesses, including banks, retail outlets, truck stops, grocery stores, is asking the Treasury Department to help convince Americans to get coins back in circulation. The consequences of the circulation slowdown hit people who don't have the ability to pay for items electronically. They say it's not a coin shortage, but a lack of circulation. The pandemic disrupted people's buying habits and shifted purchases largely to plastic cards. Coin deposit volumes began to increase gradually starting in the summer of 2020, but businesses say the problem has come up again now as people have stopped using coins and have stuck to plastic cards. The government encourages people to help get coin moving by spending it, taking to the bank and credit unions, or using a coin recycling kiosk like the ones you can find at grocery stores.